Things are shifting fast in Philadelphia, and if you're an Eagles fan, you know the roster never stays quiet for long. Let's dive right into the latest moves and what they might mean for the team moving forward. The Eagles have made some adjustments to the practice squad, signing defensive tackle Jacob Sykes and defensive end KJ Henry. In return, they've released cornerback Eli Ricks again. Yeah, Ricks has been bouncing around this practice squad like a yo-yo. One week he's in, the next he's out, and then he's back again. This time he's out. He was temporarily added before the Buccaneers game to fill in due to a shortage at cornerback, thanks to injuries to Adoree Jackson and Jacorian Bennett. That corner spot was looking real thin, and it made sense to call in backup. But with guys like Khalil Ringo stepping up, Perry Nickerson getting snaps, and McWilliams handling some special teams reps, the need for Ricks just isn't there anymore. It's a numbers game, and Howie Roseman is always playing 4D chess when it comes to roster management. And that wasn't the only roster shakeup. Linebacker Antoine Powell-Ryland is also out. Now, this is a move that might surprise some fans who've been tracking APR since college. Drafted in the 6th round this past April, Powell-Ryland had flashes of potential both at Florida and Virginia Tech. During the pre-draft process, his name came up as a possible sleeper pick, and when the Eagles called his name alongside a few offensive linemen like Miles Hinton, Drew Kendall, and Cameron Williams, it looked like a solid developmental play. The thought process made sense. The Eagles lost key pieces on the defensive line this offseason, and replenishing young talent is a must in this league. APR had the tools, and he was productive. In fact, over the past couple of college seasons, few defensive ends put up the numbers he did. We're talking real backfield disruption here. Last year alone, over 44% of his tackles came behind the line of scrimmage. That's not just good, that's elite at the college level. He's also known for causing chaos. 9 forced fumbles across the past 3 seasons, 3 in each. He's got a deep pass rush bag too. Swim moves, rip moves, counter spins. He's not just relying on one trick to beat tackles. But here's the catch. His draft profile always carried a few red flags. Not overly twitchy, lacks ideal length, and doesn't have that explosive first step off the edge that separates the top-tier edge rushers. Those concerns seem to show up during training camp and the preseason. Outside of a strip sack in the preseason finale, which honestly made some fans think he could sneak onto the final 53, he just didn't flash enough. He cleared waivers, came back to the practice squad, and now he's back on the market. It's a tough business, and while the Eagles might still believe in his upside, sometimes it's better for a young player like APR to find a fresh start elsewhere, somewhere he can get consistent reps and build himself into something more than just a camp body. Switching gears to the injury front, there's a bit of drama, as always, surrounding Dallas Goedert. He's one of the more underrated tight ends in the entire NFL, and he's quietly become a massive piece of this Eagles offense. But here we go again with the injury bug. Goedert missed practice on Wednesday with a knee issue. Red flag? Absolutely, especially considering his injury history going back to when he was drafted in 2018 to be Zach Ertz's heir. The good news? He was back on the field Thursday, looked solid in practice, moved well, and even in that game against the Buccaneers, there was a moment where he took a low hit, came off to the sideline, and you could see him favoring that knee, the same one that kept him out against the Chiefs in Week 2. It's a concern, no doubt. The Eagles have a short week coming up with a Thursday night game against the Giants, and that game's on the brutal turf at MetLife Stadium. That surface has a reputation for wrecking knees, and if you've got a guy who's already nursing something, you have to wonder how cautious the team's going to be. Now, this year, Goedert's been productive, 12 catches for a little over 100 yards. Not eye-popping numbers, but the impact has gone beyond the stat sheet. He's scored 3 touchdowns in his last 2 games, including a beautiful seam route grab against the Rams and 2 creative play calls against the Bucs. One on an underhand pitch and another on a shovel pass that had Andy Reid's fingerprints all over it. He's physical after the catch, hard to bring down, and is one of those guys who just adds an edge to the offense when he's out there. But here's the issue, durability. It's always been a knock on him. Rookie year? Iron Man. Since then, missed games every single season. Add them all up, and he's missed 23 games since 2019. And look, there's a saying in the NFL, you can't make the club from the tub. Goddard is too talented not to be on the field, but the missed time is probably one of the reasons the Eagles didn't hand him an extension this offseason. Age is starting to creep in too. He's over 30, and tight ends don't usually age like wine. What's even more telling is the Eagles' record with and without him. When Goddard's in the lineup, the team is 58 wins, 37 losses, and 1 tie. Without him, 16 wins, 8 losses. That's still solid, but the eye test tells you something the numbers don't. This offense just looks different when he's not there. Backup tight ends? Not great. Grant Calcaterra? Struggles in blocking. Keelan Grant's son? Also not a strong blocker. And with the offensive line having issues lately, and Saquon Barkley not finding any real rhythm, losing a do-it-all tight end like Goddard makes a bigger difference than people realize. Let's move on to a topic that's been blowing up all week, A.J. Brown. After Sunday's game, which the Eagles won to go 4-0, Brown posted a cryptic tweet that lit social media on fire. The tweet read something like, "If you're not welcomed, not listened to, quietly withdraw. Don't make a scene, shrug your shoulders, and be on your way." Now, people immediately began to speculate. Was this about the coaches? The quarterback? Was there something brewing inside the locker room? Brown addressed the tweet this week and owned up to letting his emotions boil over. He said he didn't talk to the media after the game because he was frustrated and admitted that the tweet was not directed at anyone in the building. He emphasized his open communication with coaches and Jalen Hurts and said he just wants to be involved more, especially in big moments. It's the classic wide receiver dilemma. High-level talent, high-level emotion. To Brown's credit, he didn't hide behind PR spin. He stepped up and took accountability. But the question has to be asked, when is enough enough? Because this isn't the first time. We've seen this pattern before. Emotional tweets, sideline outbursts, cryptic social media posts, and each time it turns into a headline. In a city like Philadelphia, where sports are life and every word is dissected, this stuff doesn't go unnoticed. And when the team is winning, like they are now, these distractions are avoidable, or at least they should be. You just beat a tough opponent. You're undefeated. Why stir the pot? And now comes the report from ESPN's Jeremy Fowler that the Eagles could consider trading A.J. Brown. Not now, but possibly in the 2026 offseason. Executives around the league apparently think it's something Philly might explore. The reasoning? That love-hate relationship between Brown and the Eagles' passing game. The talent is undeniable, but the emotional outbursts and drama, it adds up. Could the Eagles really move on from one of the best receivers in football? It sounds wild, but with a cap hit of $90 million and a post-June first trade designation, there's a financial path to making it happen. Howie Roseman is known for working cap magic, and if they did want to move on, there's a way to soften the blow. That said, let's be real. You don't just trade A.J. Brown unless you absolutely have to. Since joining the Eagles in 2022, the team is 41-10 with him in the lineup. He's made All-Pro every year. He's topped 1,000 yards each season. The Eagles have been to 2 Super Bowls with him as a focal point of the offense. His presence has transformed this passing game and given Jalen Hurts a true number 1 option. So unless the drama becomes completely unmanageable, you don't move on from that kind of talent. But you can also understand the fatigue. Every year there's some new flare-up. Every season it's something. And you start to wonder if the Eagles will eventually decide they'd rather have a quieter locker room. Maybe someone more like Devonta Smith, who goes about his business without stirring the pot. While the A.J. Brown situation continues to swirl in the background, the Eagles still have football games to play, and big ones at that. The next stretch of the schedule could define a lot about this team. With Denver coming up and then a quick turnaround to face the Giants on Thursday night, the Eagles are entering a critical moment, both physically and emotionally. That's why the timing of the drama around Brown, and even the uncertainty surrounding Dallas Goedert, couldn't be worse. This is when teams either start to click into gear or begin to unravel, and Philadelphia has shown signs of both. Against the Buccaneers, the Eagles pulled off another win, but it wasn't clean. The defense held strong, especially up front, but the offense had moments where things looked disjointed. Part of that is chemistry, part of it is play calling, and part of it might just be a team still figuring out how to operate under a growing spotlight and with growing expectations. Jalen Hurts continues to show leadership, but even he seems a little less in rhythm than last year. There's been flashes of brilliance, deep balls, scrambling plays, toughness in the red zone, but also a few moments where the ball placement or the timing just feels slightly off. And this brings us back to A.J. Brown again, because the deeper issue isn't just the tweets or the press conferences. It's about how this offense is flowing and whether Brown is being utilized the way he believes he should be. When he's targeted heavily and making plays, he's locked in. But when the game plan shifts away from him or when other weapons take the spotlight, that's when the tension rises. It's a delicate balance because he's not wrong to want the ball. He's one of the best receivers in the league. But being great in the NFL means not just producing, but knowing how to manage frustration in a way that doesn't spill out into the public every few weeks. The problem is the Eagles don't just have to worry about keeping A.J. Brown happy. They have to keep winning. And right now, that means surviving some critical injuries and hoping the younger guys can step up. The addition of Jacob Sykes and K.J. Henry might not seem like blockbuster moves, but they're necessary ones. The defensive front has been doing a lot of the heavy lifting this season, and adding some fresh legs to the practice squad could be the type of low-profile move that pays off later, especially if the rotation gets stretched thin deeper into the season. On the back end, with Eli Ricks now off the practice squad, the secondary needs to continue developing chemistry and depth. Khalil Ringo's development has been promising, and Perry Nickerson is starting to look more comfortable in his role. But make no mistake, this secondary is still a work in progress. And with more pass-heavy offenses coming up, that backfield needs to be locked in. You can't just rely on pressure from the front four. There has to be cohesion behind it, or else explosive plays become a real issue. Speaking of explosive, let's not ignore what Dallas Goedert brings when healthy. The Broncos, who the Eagles are set to face next, have one of the better defenses statistically across the board. Their front seven generates pressure at a league-leading rate, and their secondary, led by Patrick Surtain, is elite. But the one area where they've struggled? Linebacker coverage. That's where Goedert can absolutely feast. He's one of the best tight ends in the league at exploiting mismatches in the middle of the field. Whether it's sitting down in soft zones or beating linebackers one-on-one, he creates openings in places that other guys on this team don't. And if he's not on the field, that's a big hole to fill. Neither Calcaterra nor Grandson is bringing that same versatility, especially in blocking, which is critical when you're trying to slow down a defense like Denver's. With the offensive line also showing some cracks, every piece of protection and every reliable route option matters more than ever. Saquon Barkley hasn't had the lanes to operate the way Philly hoped he would when they brought him in, and it's not because the talent isn't there. It's because this offense hasn't consistently created enough opportunities for him to get into rhythm. Goddard's absence only makes that problem bigger. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep delivering the latest updates on our Philadelphia Eagles. And don't be shy. Share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. In what could be the blockbuster move of the season, whispers around the NFL have reached a fever pitch. Christian McCaffrey, one of the league's most dynamic and versatile running backs, is reportedly set to don the green and white of the Philadelphia Eagles. Sources close to the matter hint that discussions have been very advanced, fueling speculation among fans and analysts alike. While nothing has been officially announced, the excitement across social media suggests that Philadelphia's roster might be on the brink of a seismic shift. McCaffrey, who has spent the bulk of his career dazzling with agility, speed, and a unique dual-threat ability as both a rusher and receiver, could offer the Eagles an entirely new dimension on offense. Eagles fans, long accustomed to the thrill of aerial attacks and strategic ground games, are reportedly buzzing at the possibility of a backfield that could rival any in the league. Analysts are already imagining McCaffrey lining up in motion, catching passes out of the backfield, and turning short gains into electrifying plays that leave defenses scrambling. The rumor mill suggests that McCaffrey's addition could also have ripple effects throughout the NFC East. Teams facing Philadelphia might need to rethink their defensive schemes entirely, accounting not just for the Eagles' quarterback prowess, but now also for a running back capable of changing the course of a game in a single play. Speculation abounds about how this potential signing would impact the draft strategies and offseason moves of rival franchises, as Philadelphia could now be viewed as a team that combines elite passing with a run game that demands respect. Despite the buzz, insiders caution that contracts, medical evaluations, and final negotiations could all influence whether McCaffrey actually steps on a Lincoln Financial field in green and white. Still, the mere possibility has ignited discussions from sports talk shows to online forums, with fans envisioning highlight reels filled with breakaway runs, sideline jukes, and a backfield partner that turns every down into a potential highlight. Whether this is a confirmed deal or the ultimate off-season rumor, one thing is certain. The NFL world is watching Philadelphia closely, and the potential arrival of Christian McCaffrey has everyone on edge. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Philadelphia Eagles, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.